This is how to build out your helmet for camera and microphone mounting for vlogging. Now before actually mounting everything to the helmet, the first thing I had to do is figure out which components I wanted to mount. I use a GoPro helmet, so for a long time I've had one of these helmet side mounts where I use my GoPro. It keeps you at the proper height for your eye height, but obviously it's very off-centered from your center. I picked up one of these Moto mounts, chin mount, that would go right on here, be down a little bit further than my eyes, but it'll be a lot closer to center as far as the center line of the helmet. As far as getting sound to the GoPro, there's multiple things that are required before you can do that. You can't just plug a 3.5mm jack into the GoPro cameras. So the first thing I had to get from GoPro, of course, which means you're paying for the name, was this converter, which takes a 3.5mm jack and converts it to the USB-C to go into the camera. Before you can do that, you have to get the pass-through door for the GoPro, which has the little window down here, and that's where your connector goes in and connects to the camera. While keeping your door in place, we'll go ahead and install the Moto mounts for the front of the helmet. The first thing you want to do is degrease the area, which means you can use anything from acetone to an alcohol wipe like this, or even just good old dish soap and water. And you just want to clean that area real good all around there to make sure there's no grease or oils that's going to jack with the adhesion. Give that a couple seconds to dry. While that's drying, we'll go ahead and pull the release liner off of the mount. And you can see it's on there at kind of some goofy angles. That's just the geometry they had to create to be able to match the helmet. And notice I did not touch the surface of the helmet because I don't want to get oils from my skin back on it. Now, before we actually attach this, we want to heat up both the gummy surface and the helmet surface with a heat gun just a little bit to soften all the adhesive so it sticks really well. Now, while both surfaces are warm, we want to apply this super carefully because you get like one shot. Want to be perfectly centered and level. So I'm basically going to make the bottom edge even with that trim piece on the bottom. Ideally, I should probably find some kind of a clamp to use on this. I'm going to put as much force as I can with my hands first to get it to bite every direction. It's not pretty, but I found an old welding clamp that'll probably work for this. Let's make sure I don't damage the helmet somehow. So you can see there it's centered as far as the mount is centered on the helmet. And then if you look at the bottom, the edge of the mount rides right above the lip of that. And this is on a Shoei 14. And then you can also see that the camera mount is a little bit offset to the right, which when I get the camera on there, it should make it so that the eye of the camera is closer to center line of the rider. And you can still kind of see that the eye of the camera is, I don't know, ½ inch or so off from the center of the helmet, but it's fairly close. So they've done what they can by offsetting these mounts to get it closer to that. Yes, you can do one of those big wraparound brackets that's a little bit bulkier, but this is a way to get it in the front, a smooth, slick design for mounting that does get you pretty close to being at the center. Now you have a little bit of flexibility, obviously, in that mount, so I'm going to have to play with that to see what works for me, because remember, your helmet isn't always going to be straight up and down while you're riding. It's going to be angled like this. So I'll want to take it out and do a little bit of test rides to find the proper angle for my style of riding. You basically pop this down and you simply pop off the door, and you will pop the new door on that has the pass-through window down here for the adapter. And once that's down, plug it in and there you go. And I've got it tilted in the most leaned back position so that when you're riding down like this, it's still fairly straight. And as you can see from the video, it actually got pretty good balance between the ground
and the sky above, it wasn't like staring into the clouds, and it wasn't looking way down either. So I'm pretty happy with that arrangement. And again, it's not perfectly centered, but it gave a pretty good perspective, I think, on viewing. I liked it better than this side mount over here like it was. Plus, it's not something hanging out real bulky here that I'm gonna catch on stuff or hit with my coat or something. Since the Senna's already mounted to the left side of the helmet and I'm used to having the GoPro over on the right side, I'm going to mount all this stuff for the vlogging on the right side. It makes more sense too because I'm coming out of the GoPro with this adapter, and the first thing I need to do is mount that to the helmet. That can be super easily fixed with a little bit of dual lock. Just gonna cut a little bit of chunk. It doesn't take much of this dual lock. Again, I've got an alcohol wipe. I'm gonna wipe that area down there. After trying it on a ride yesterday, this GoPro adapter didn't last long at all, stuck to the dual lock. The dual lock on the side of the adapter came right off. It was already starting to come off yesterday, despite wiping it down with alcohol. And when you feel it, it's got kind of a greasy feel to it. So I don't know if that's mold released or what exactly it is. Regardless, it needs to be attached again. So this piece of dual lock is trashed because it's got fuzz and dirt and stuff on that side. So I need to cut a new piece of dual lock to match that one. So there's the new piece of dual lock for it. Now what I have to do is properly prep this piece. So what I'm gonna do is take some Scotch-Brite and some actual acetone to try to scuff this up and clean it as much as I can. And just to be real sure it sticks, I'm gonna put super glue between the adapter and the dual lock as well. I don't want this thing falling off all the time during riding. While that's drying, I'll start taking this backing off the dual lock with a razor. There's a bunch of super glue on it. And there is the dual lock right in the middle. And I really don't want to fasten the adapter right to the helmet because if I do a track event of some kind, a lot of times you're not allowed to put a helmet cam on and it has to be on the bike and secured. So this way I could put an extender cable out here and still use this vlog capability, just have it wired to a camera mounted elsewhere. All right, I'm gonna let that sit for a minute. Just gonna get it about even right there. I'm gonna put pressure on it and hold it that way for a while and kind of rock it around. Okay, so that's in place. All right, so we've got the cameras already mounted. We've got our adapter goes to that little block. Now what we gotta do is put the microphone from inside to out there. So I'm gonna take the cheek pad loose and it just unsnaps. Get the strap out. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I've already got some cords in here that snake their way around for the speaker that goes from the Senna. So that's already in there. What we'd like to do is somehow get this to come out the side. So first what I'll do is I'll mount this up front. I'm going to put the microphone right up in the front, kind of right next to where the current Senna microphone is, right there. I'm going to put it right off to that side. So I wiped it with the alcohol pad. And what I'm going to use for that is a little bit of this body tape, double-sided tape. I'm going to stick this side to the actual microphone, and then I'm going to carve away the edges with the razor. And now that I have the double-sided tape on it, I'm going to peel away the liner. It's easier said than done sometimes. Sometimes a razor blade helps separate the two. This might be a little bit hard to see, but I'm basically putting it right there, right next to the microphone from the Senna. And now we have our cord that we can tuck behind the cheek pad. And if you notice, if you pick up the cheek pad, it actually comes out of there. And so you can actually go through one of these. So you got to kind of look at your length and say, all right, it's going to go through this far and then come around, go back into here, coil up a little bit. So it's coming from far back. So what I want to do is go through one of these last ones. I'm going to kind of force the cable through it. And then I'm going to connect these again through the back side of here. And I'm going to plug this into here. And then I'm going to shove that cheek pad back into the helmet. And it might be a little bit unhappy about going in where that cord is. All right, now that I've pushed the cheek pad in, and remember, like this particular for a Shoei, it's got that split you have to put on that knob. So make sure to get that right. And then this all plugs in, so that's happy. And you can tie this down if you want. We may do that later. And then as far as the cord in here goes, all you have to do is kind of lay it off to the side. Bring your strap back through. Snap the cheek pad back in place. Okay, so once your cheek pad snapped back in, the cord's contained, you've got a pretty clean outside surface here, a lot better than if you had 10 feet of cable hanging out there. And this is back in business, and you get your microphone right up front. Side note, the GoPro 11 just released, so I've got a couple of those on the way. But for right now, this is how you build out a vlog motorcycle helmet with a GoPro, the adapter, and this is using the Sena microphone.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel below and let's celebrate turning fuel and air into adrenaline.